Hello, and welcome to Unapologetically Empowered and Purpose. My name is Dr. Shawania Marshall, your host, and I am super excited. I am honored and elated to be here for the first segment of the year. Tonight's segment is titled Mask Off, Walking into 2025 Unapologetically Authentic. Tonight, I have a special guest. She is my sister in Christ. She is my closest and dearest friend. I am truly honored to have her here to collaborate with me on this segment. Welcome, Miss Markisha Lattimore.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Yes, you're welcome. So, just so everyone knows, when I prayed about this segment, the first segment of the year, I really wanted to make sure that this segment would set the tone for the year. And the vision that God gave me was to go back to the title that I established, being unapologetic. And I realized what better person to have with me to collaborate than someone that I can always be myself with. I can always talk to with about anything. My sister, my best friend. And so we are truly excited tonight to be here for this live segment. And so as we embark on this segment tonight, my prayer is that something that we say can be really impactful, powerful in helping you all as you embark on moving forward this year. And so before we begin, I want to make sure that I share a little bit about my guest so that you have some insight into who she is. Miss Lattimore is a results-oriented professional with over 12 years of expertise in training, program management, and compliance within the affordable housing and government sectors. She specializes in designing and delivering impactful adult learning programs, overseeing federal housing initiatives, and ensuring compliance with regulations like Section 8, LIHTC, which is Low Income Tax Credit Housing, and home programs. With a strong background in instructional design and being a stakeholder that is actively engaged with stakeholder engagement and project management, Mrs. Lattimore has successfully implemented innovative strategies that drive organizational growth and performance. Her career highlights include leading statewide housing compliance initiatives, managing multi-family property audits, and creating tailored training solutions, leveraging LMS platforms. She is known for her exceptional communication skills, and I can attest to that. Her commitment to excellence. Ms. Lattimore excels in collaborative environments where her leadership and problem-solving abilities consistently make a meaningful impact. Ms. Lattimore possesses a bachelor's degree in integrative studies from Kennesaw State University, and she possesses a Master of Arts degree in adult education and training. Everyone, I am proud to present to you my sister, my friend, Miss Lattimore. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so, for everyone out there, I do want to share that Unapologetically Empowered and Purpose is an organization that is all about women empowering women. So, tonight, my goal and my hope, as I've shared, is that something that we can say will be empowering, but also impactful to you. So we are now going to get down to business and have an open discourse and conversation about masking, making sure that you are being your authentic self, not wearing a mask. So that's why the title says Mask Off. Mask off, walking into 2025, being unapologetically authentic. So I will go ahead and say I probably will forget to say Miss Lattimore because we have that sister relationship.
That's
So I'm
fine.
probably going to say Markisha or Keisha.
That's fine. That's fine.
So we'll go ahead and get that out there. So we are going to go ahead and begin. So my opening question, Keisha, in
Mhm.
your opinion, what does being unapologetically authentic mean to you?
So I thought about this when I saw the name of the title and everything, and what we would be talking about. And personally, being unapologetic, authentic means showing up as my true self in every space that I enter without any fear or hesitation. It means embracing the person I am with all my flaws and any strengths that I may have. And also, it's without feeling the need to shrink myself to confirm or to conform to what others expect me to be. It's about living my truth, standing firm to my values that I have, and allowing my character to shine through no matter what the circumstances. And sometimes that's hard, but that's one of the things that I try to do the most is let who I am stand for what it is.
I love that. I love that. And that's why I said earlier when I thought about this segment to everyone, I knew that Markisha was definitely the ideal person as far as we go way back.
Yeah, yeah.
I have always known her to be true to herself. But you said some things that were powerful, not conforming to what society may think that we should, conform to or be like. And
Yeah.
talked about in every setting. You're right. It can be hard. I think about on the job, you
Yeah.
know, around our friends, around,
In
people who are not
relationships.
our friends. Right, right. And
Hmm.
so one thing that I truly have learned and just coming from just hearing what you were saying, I know for me personally, going back to high school, that was a struggle for me. Like just trying to stay true to who I was, but also not trying to conform to what other people thought that I should be like, or trying to be like someone else because they may have been the popular one. Like that was a struggle with me. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you shared that, because I can truly say for as long as I've known you, you have always been Markisha, and that's what I love about you, and that's
I
what I
try.
always adore. Like you literally always were Keisha, and that's what I loved about you. So that's going to take us into our next question. And so,
Okay.
go ahead. Did you want to say something else?
No, no, no. Go ahead.
All right. So as I was saying, and I think back to elementary, middle school, high school, you've always been you,
Yeah.
and you never you never changed to try to fit in, to fit the mold. You never tried to operate to please anyone. And so
Yeah.
my question to you is, where did that mindset come from?
So I would like to think that that mindset was instilled to me early on. I remember when through some of the things that you were talking about just now, talking to my mom, and she was like, you don't go to school to make friends, you go to school to learn. So that always stuck with me. I was raised with the thoughts to value authenticity and to understand that being my true self was so important than seeking the approval of others. So I've always believed that if I had to change who I am just to fit in, then that wasn't the space that I was supposed to be in. And I
Mhm.
learned that self respect, no matter how temporary, how that validation is only for a little amount of time, but that self love that you give yourself,
Mhm.
you can't compare that to anything else. And I've never felt the need to try to compromise who I am to make basically others feel comfortable with themselves, because we never know what a person is going through and why they're acting the way they act. But me thinking about all the time that my mom was like, okay, you're not here to make friends. Yeah, I wasn't. I was there to learn. I go to my job to do that job. I make friends outside of work, but even still, I have to remember that I need to be authentic and be myself in that relationship, whatever it may be.
And that's powerful because the reality is, going to school and just even being a, former teacher, that's something that I will often share with students. Like your first priority
Mhm.
is to learn. That's
Yeah.
that's what you come to school for. And of course, when you're young, you want to develop those friendships. You want people to like you.
Absolutely.
So it can be hard. So I do have to say, because I know your parents personally, like that is very profound. That is
Yeah.
so powerful. And my hope is that people hearing that, like I don't have children, but my hope is that people that may have kids, like that's something powerful because it does start at home. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
and thank you to your parents because I truly
Yes.
saw that, you know.
Mhm.
And so I do have a question to you because we talked about, our early years. Why do you
Mhm.
think that some people find it hard to be authentic? Why do you think some people find it so hard just to be real and to stay true to who they really are?
I think they find it hard to be true to who they really are. It's because they just want to be liked. They just might want to be loved. Something that they're not getting from home, or it may just be the need to be loved and liked. Everybody has different personalities, but the key thing for people, what they need to understand is that you yourself are enough. The opinions of others don't define who we are. Even though we look at what others think of us, they don't define us.
Mm,
So whatever part of life you're in, whether you're a child, an adult, a professor, a teacher, a doctor, that doesn't define you. When I'm in a setting, whether it's speaking with a congressional office, I always make sure I'm that same person with that congressional that I am with the next person, that constituent on the street.
mm.
So regardless of who I meet, I'm authentic and I'm myself, and I make sure that they understand that it's okay to be who they are too. But let's just be true to ourselves and love ourselves.
I love that. And so
Yeah.
I do want to share as I was listening to you talk, because our stories are a little bit different because I think
Yeah.
about, yes, I know how my mom raised me, like, no, you go to school to learn. It's not about friends. And
Yeah.
for me, I was always that one where of course we were about academics. We made good
Mhm.
grades.
Yeah.
We didn't care about the extra stuff. We made good grades, we were active. But
Yeah.
there was a part of me, and as I've gotten older, I've become more confident in telling some parts of my story from my
Mhm.
past because I know who I am now. And so just hearing you talk, I can remember being, in elementary, middle school, and it's like for me personally, I never understood sometimes why people would treat me a certain way, because for me, I'm like, it was easy to be kind. It was easy to be nice. And then I
Yeah.
think about just those moments in middle school when people could be cruel and mean just because they know you might have been a little timid, or you had a soft spirit, or you weren't that person that was always going to keep up chaos and confusion. And sometimes
Right.
people know that, and they know the ones that they can try to, kind of push or test. And so I
Mhm.
think about, for me, when I experienced those moments of, where that may have happened, it's like it did something to me internally. And then,
Right.
and I even share this now. Back then, I always looked at, I considered myself like being nice, being kind, being loving. But you know how, and this is just a reality, and teenagers go through it. People want to
Mhm.
be popular. Then there's people who are not popular. And so
Mhm.
for me, and I've shared this as I've gotten older. I personally, I dealt with that low self-esteem, and that was hard for me
Yeah.
because yes, my parents, my grandparents raised me, to not let anyone intimidate me, to not allow someone to make me feel inferior. But there was still that part of me that I couldn't understand why people could be mean or mistreat me, because I definitely, that's not how I operated. And then also for me, it's like you have that group that's the popular group. And for me, I can remember sometimes, there was some people that we went to school with.
Yeah.
I found myself hanging out with them sometime because, they were kind of what they deemed popular. And then I
Mhm.
remember Keisha trying to hang out with them and being around them would sometimes get me in trouble. And that was
Yeah.
and that was something that I know my mama didn't play. But as I
Mhm.
think about that, I'll never forget when we got in ninth grade. it was you, Jabe, and myself. We were like, you know what? We just gonna come together. We not gonna deal with that foolishness. We gonna be
Mm-hmm.
about our business, and people that want to be mad could be mad. And we just really kind of move forward. I just remember just not letting anyone intimidate me anymore, not letting anyone get to me anymore. And I didn't truly get there, Keisha, until I was like towards my ninth grade, embarking on my 10th grade year. So as I hear
Yeah.
you, talking, there are some people who are not there like by middle school, and it's just something that I know personally I dealt with internally. And it really took me, of course, prayer, and just really, really realizing like you don't need those people to feel good. You
Yeah.
don't need those people to make you feel popular, because number one, I knew my priority was to graduate and go to college. So it took
Exactly.
me a little longer than you, but I'm proud. I'm proud to say that even now, as I've gotten older, I can tell my story, because where I am now, like you talk about, walking in your truth, walking in your authenticity, like now more than ever. And it took me literally, I think, when I really, really reached that height of, you know what? I'm so confident. It don't even matter what you say. It don't matter what.
Right.
It took me literally, I want to say like late 20s, 30s, when I really was like, you know what? Mask off, be you, walk in your truth, don't worry about
Yeah.
what everybody thinks, love yourself. It took me a while to get there. So, I can truly say this is what I love about you, and this is what I've always like adored about you, because it's like, even though I wasn't there quite where you when you were, just you being in my life, being my friend, it's like those moments where I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. So we're gonna move on into like our next stages. So we kind of talked about, our younger years. So we're gonna kind of go up into like, when we were teenagers, and we've talked
Mm-hmm.
about it, but I just want you to share from your perspective when we think about females.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is we hear a lot now more than ever the term bullies. We didn't use that phrase a lot when we were coming along, but you hear it now more than ever. And the reality is there are people who exist and like to be that bully, the one that wants to dominate or run things or tell people what to do. So my question to you is, what advice would you share with young teenagers who may be experiencing problems where they may be going through that phase of people trying to, intimidate them,
Peer
or
pressure.
yeah, the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Could you share, what advice would you give to females that may be dealing with that now?
Wow. This is hard because times are so different now than when we were growing up. There's so many various platforms in which people can be bullied other than just in person. So it's difficult to give that straight on advice. Middle school and high school could be some of the toughest times that people go through. But the main thing I can tell a person that if they were sitting in front of me is to like, don't let those insecurities don't let the other people's insecurities have you question your worth and who you are. That you have to stay focused on what makes you happy, surrounding yourself with the right people who are genuinely supporting you, and don't feel so pressured to change just to fit in. Show people who you truly are, and allow people to love you for who you are. And that's the main thing that I would say to a young woman or young lady sitting in front of me, because it's going to be hard. You're going to go through tough times. Everybody is going to reach the point where they mature or where they feel confident about themselves at different stages of life, but always be your true self and be genuinely supported by the people around you.
Thank you. I like that you mentioned insecurities, and that word is so important.
Yeah.
I've realized as I've gotten older, the reality is, and you can tell it. You can tell it when you're around people.
Mhm.
If their insecurities. Well, let me say it this way. And Coach Prime says it best when he says, "If my confidence offends your offends you or offends your insecurities. That's your problem, not mine.
That's your
And
problem.
as I've gotten older, I can tell when people are insecure in themselves. And it
Yes.
could be just because of our presence, how we approach our life. Because, like I said, for me, I can be true to myself and say, I know what I was like, as a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in my 20s. But as I got older in my 30s, I was like, no more. I love me. I love my dark complexion. I love who I am. I love who God
Yes.
created me. And I've continued to walk in it. And so that's one thing that I'm very unapologetic about. I
Yeah.
don't mind sharing because that's my truth. That's my testimony. And so I like how you talked about the word insecurity, because the reality is it shows, and it's going
Yeah.
to show when people are insecure. And
Yeah.
so as you talked about just being authentic, for me, when I really got to that place as I got older in my 30s and 40s, it gave me that sense of peace. It gave me
Mm-hmm.
that sense of being confident and just loving myself even more. And then it just made me feel even more empowered. And that's one of the reasons I created this organization, because I'm like, I know what it's like to be that young girl, that young teenager,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
feeling that way that you don't really want to feel. But then your journey, your story, your walk, you have to get to a place, and it's a process.
It
It
is.
can happen overnight, but I love my journey because
Yeah.
I'm able to sit back and say, wow, look how far you come. Look
It
where you.
defines you.
Yes, yes. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that is so important. And you're right. We are living in different times.
Yes.
Technology
Oh
and
my gosh.
it totally is different times. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I truly believe that that is so profound. So now we're going to talk about, as we kind of embarked on our 20s. So,
Yes.
after high school, you moved to Atlanta, you left me, girl.
I left everybody.
You did. You were like, deuces.
I was ready to get away.
I know. Even now, as I think about it, I literally, I don't think I believed it at first that you were going to do it, and you did it. But nevertheless, I'm proud, because there's a lot more that came behind that. So my question to you:
Yes.
you moved to Atlanta. Can you share what it was like for you as a young woman? I mean, you left the country, you moved to this big city. What was it like making that shift, moving from our small rural town to Atlanta? What was that like? And also add in there, like, if you could, like, how were you able to stay true to being Keisha?
Yeah, it was hard. It was a huge difference. The roads. I remember driving in Alabama. You throw your hand up to everybody and wave. You don't know who passing by, but you just wave. So I had to get used to that. At the time, people were still pumping your gas in Alabama. So coming here to Georgia, and I had to get out and pump my own gas. I was like, what in the world have I gotten myself into? And it was a huge shift for me coming from that smaller town. I'm used to a close knit community, as you know of, but Atlanta did expose me to a whole new world, different cultures, different personalities, different ways of life. I could have easily lost myself in the mix of everything that was going on, but I stayed grounded. I tried to stay grounded as much as I could by remembering where I came from and what I stood for. I embraced the new experiences, but I stayed true to my own core values at the same time. And that's what helped me to navigate throughout the city without losing myself in the process, I can say. It was a journey. There was many obstacles that I experienced along the way. I remember people thinking that I was doing this or I was dating this person. It was still so much going on, not just here in Georgia, but in Alabama as well. But I've always been a private person, and I never really consumed myself with what others thought. So for me, it was easy to just keep moving forward with my life and getting to where my purpose, well, what I thought and what I think my purpose is as of today. So, because obviously my purpose then was totally different than what my purpose is now, but I did not lose myself. And that's the thing. I stayed grounded to who I was and where I came from.
Thank you. And I can definitely say that is the truth because even when you move, we still stayed in touch. Like
Yeah,
no matter what, like Markisha was always my girl. Like we still stayed in touch. And part of that is because, like you said, staying grounded, like that
yeah,
connection, we still had that connection. So even though you were at a distance, we still, communicated. Like we
yeah.
still stayed in contact. And so for me, that's something that I can definitely say you are definitely telling the truth about that because like even to this day, I'm grateful for all of that because we still have that strong connection. So thank
Hmm.
you. All right, so I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay.
When you moved here, and of course you talked about the difference in what it was like and just being able to stay true to who you are. Um, what did you notice about maybe let's speak on females because this is kind of where I want to go with this. Females that you may have come into contact with, like the difference from females in Alabama in comparison to females here in Atlanta. Like, was there a difference, the interaction, the approach? Or was it kind of similar to like people from our hometown, the women that you would come into contact with?
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that in the city of Atlanta, there is so much ambition and opportunity, and some people struggle with authenticity because they feel much more pressured to present themselves as in a certain image. Being in the limelight, being around a lot of uh, business owners, football players, basketball players, movie stars that may be spotted in the area on a ongoing basis. I met a lot of amazing people, a lot of real women, but I also encountered those that seemed to be performing rather than just being themselves. And I found it harder to connect with people who weren't secure in their own identity because of relationships that should be built on honesty and facades. They were not. They was built on facades.
Hmm.
So it was a little bit harder at first. I did encounter a few people along the line that I've made lasting relationships with. We may not see each other or talk as much, but they are always in my heart, and I do make those lasting relationships. The ones that I did connect with, they were comfortable in their own skin and they value genuine relationships over appearances. And I think that's what attracted each of us to each other is they were okay with who they were and they were okay with who I was. I didn't have to put on that mask for them to try to make them like me. And if they didn't, I was okay with them not liking me. So, it was okay. It was hard, but it was okay because at first I was like, I don't want no new friends. I still had that mentality, but the truth of the matter is everybody needs friends.
Hmm.
Everybody needs someone that they can depend on and count on, but at the same time, you still got to stay true to yourself. So,
Right, right,
yeah.
right. Thank you. I will say when I finally made that move here, I can remember like people asking me like, "Are you from here?" And I've always been
Mhm.
proud to say I'm from Alabama. But it's funny, like even dating, like people will ask me, "Are you from Atlanta?" And it's like I'm like, "Why are you asking me like asking me that?" But I found myself, over a period of time, people asking me that, and I eventually found out why. But not to say anything negative about people
Yeah.
from here, but honestly, I take pride in being able to say I'm from Alabama.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really do. And don't get me wrong, like I've met a lot of people from here, and like you said, we have great relationships. And to me, it's like sometimes I do believe people who gravitate here sometimes forget like who they were and who they are because of
Yes.
the perception of living in Atlanta. And I'm proud to say like I love being me and staying
Mhm.
true to who I am. So I didn't move to Atlanta to change to fit what Atlanta people are supposed to be like. No, I'm going to be Shawana, and I'm going to be that asset to make Atlanta
Right.
better. So I don't want to fit the mold. So thank you for sharing. All right, so
Right.
now we're going to go into the 30s, the 30 questions.
Ooh.
So this was the beginning of motherhood for you.
Yes,
So
it was.
you're a great mother, fantastic mother. So can
Thank
you
you.
share? You're welcome. So can you share how you go about instilling in your son the importance of being authentic and being true to himself? because now he's a high schooler. So what does that look
What?
like?
Not a high schooler yet. Not yet.
No, I'm
Middle
sorry.
schooler.
Middle school. I apologize. Don't tell him I said that. Middle school.
But she'll be like, ooh.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get him out the house early. But what is that like? Like, having that conversation with him.
Uh, you know, being a black male in America, this was a conversation that I had to have with him early on before he could even understand what I was talking about. Just making sure he knew the importance, because as a mother, I make it my priority to teach my son the value of being himself. I encourage him to speak his truth, ask questions. Don't just believe what you see on Google, TikTok, all them other platforms, and never feel like that he has to follow the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
My son is a Sagittarius, so he loves his friends. He loves people being around him. He loves that attention. So I try to show him through my actions that the authenticity leads to real self confidence. It's not about who you got around you. It's about that self respect that you have for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
I remind him on a daily basis that his uniqueness is his power, and that
Mm-hmm.
he should never compromise who he is to make somebody else happy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if, he's sitting in a classroom, I tell him he may not always hear the truth for the teacher, because sometimes, these books don't tell the whole story. But, I try to teach him myself too. This is where you came from. This is who you are. And this is who you can be. And
Mm-hmm.
just be happy with you. Live your purpose and not somebody else's purpose. But it's been hard, especially with some of the things that have happened in the past, and we sit down and we talk about it. We may watch it on TV. He has a kind heart, so he's always like, "Mommy, why can't we? Why can't they just say they sorry and
Mm-hmm.
everything be okay?" And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, sometimes it does not work that way. But he gets it. He sees, and I think he's learning slowly. He
Mm-hmm.
does not have that same aspect of me. I told him from the beginning, you go to school to learn, you don't go to school to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
But again, at the same time, it's a different era, with everything around you. They are in contact with each other with cell phones. We didn't talk on the phone like that when we were younger. They have computers that they play games with and can interact with at all times. On the weekends, he sees friends. It's just so much more. But I remind him to stay grounded and know that he's here and God has a purpose for him.
I love that. I stuck a pin in what you said. His uniqueness is his
Yes.
power. And I love that because for each one of us, there is something that makes us unique that's different from the next person. And
Mm-hmm.
that is so powerful. I love that. I love that because I truly believe that for all of us, we have to truly identify our uniqueness, what sets us
Yeah.
aside from the next person. And I think when we do that, that places us in a position where we're not trying to compare ourselves to each other. And
Right.
because our journey is going to be different, but there's also something about me that makes me unique, and there's something about you that makes you unique. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. That was powerful. All right. So now we're going to shift into the prime years. We are in our 40s. Woo!
Can you believe it?
I know. And we're actually now over the 45.
Yes, yes, yes. I tell everybody I'm in my early 50s.
Look, I'm gonna still keep saying prime. Yes. So
Yes.
we are now in our 40s. And what do you believe are some of the possible challenges that you have experienced over the years? Just now, we've talked about all the way up into 40s. Like, if there's one or two things, one, if you can name one. If not, there's not any, that's fine. What do you think may have been one of your biggest challenges, just that you feel like you have encountered simply because you were being authentic, you were being true to who you are, who you were? Is there anything that comes to mind that stands out?
Oh, that's a lot of things. I I could go on and on. But let's see, one of the biggest challenges is learning that not everyone will appreciate my authentic self, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Like just learning that that's okay. When I was younger, I may have overlooked how much people would conform or
Mhm.
expect you to conform, whether it was in a relationship. I remember, I know we're talking about in our 40s now, but I remember in relationships when I was younger, people expected you to conform. People expected you to do things that you weren't ready to do, and that's just not what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to conform, so I just didn't do it.
Mhm.
But it's the same way today. People expect you to conform. People expect you to do that in relationship, workplaces, in society in general. But as I've grown, I no longer tolerate the
Mhm.
spaces that require me to shrink myself.
Mhm.
I realize that being authentic sometimes means losing people in the process
Mhm.
or opportunities in the process, but I know that other doors and opportunities will open up. Um, but I gain in self respect and the peace that's more valuable for me than anything else.
Mhm.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I remember in the current job that I am, walking into that job the first day, nobody knew that I was coming except for the senior VP. He was awaiting my arrival. Nobody knew what my position was or what I was doing there. But I remember this young woman who happened to be the same race that I was. She immediately got defensive, thinking that I was there to take her job, And it's like sometimes you just have to step back. I didn't say anything, and I just stepped back. And eventually we had the conversation, I was like, I'm your biggest fan. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not here to push you out the way. I'm here so that we can help each other.
Mhm.
Like, you gotta do your own, you gotta live your purpose, and so do I. But I don't have to step on you in the process, and nor do you have to step on me.
Mhm.
So I think it's just understanding that, yes, I could be authentic,
Mhm.
but everybody is not going to accept that, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's 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 deep. You mentioned the part about um someone, the person that you work with being defensive. And
Mhm.
I think for me, as I think about approaching my 40s, that's the part that has bothered me the most when I'm in settings, whether it's on the job or whether it's within an organization. I'm like, as women, I'm just going to speak to just Black women.
Mhm.
I love all people, but I love
Right.
my people. And one of the biggest things, as and I listen to you talk about that, that's something that I would love for us as Black women to do a better job of,
Yes.
is embracing each other, not feeling defensive as if someone is trying to step on your toes,
Yes.
not thinking that someone is trying to compete with you, because the reality is there's so much out there as far as opportunity for all of us. And
Yes.
that is something that for me that is going to be my continuous prayer, because I feel like as a culture, in order for us to really, really move forward and improve
Gotta
and
do better.
really band together in unity as women, we have got to do a better job of that.
We
And
gotta do better.
I've talked to you about, even with my journey with my dissertation, like some of the things that I discovered through that process, even though there were a lot of challenges that people like me incurred from the majority, there were also challenges that people like me incurred from our own color.
Right.
And so that for me, that's a hard pill to swallow, because I've personally
Mhm.
seen it, and I'm thinking, why do we have to create challenges and barriers, for each other? Because we feel this sense of, well, I'm here. I don't want them to get here because they might get here, and that is something we truly have to do a better job of. You also mentioned like losing people along the way. I
Mhm.
will say that when I got into my 40s, don't, the circle of friends that I did have, the circle of close sorors that I may have had, there were some people that I always thought would always remain in my circle.
Mm-hmm.
Had a moment of when I got sick back in 2023, when I really took that moment to self reflect on my life, from like family, friends, career. And I
Yeah.
realized, and I literally took inventory of the people in my circle, and I realized there were some people that I was always doing things for, but
Mm-hmm.
where have they been? And I realized, you're getting older. That same routine of always being there, being consistent, always picking up the phone, always trying to plan. I was like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, I did it, I loved it, but then I realized I shouldn't always be the one doing it if I
Right.
that much to you, especially if we're close friends or close sorors or close family members. And so for me, I will say that was the biggest challenge. That when I think about in my 40s, there were some people that I distanced myself from. I still love them, and if we talk, we talk,
Yeah.
and I'm always going to be there. But I realized it's okay to step back. It's okay to
Absolutely.
stop always being the one running, going, trying to be there, because that moment for me was an eye opener, because I realized, where are those same people that you have always been there for? They hadn't
Yeah.
picked up the
That
phone,
is so true.
they've never come over here. And that was a hard thing for me. And I had to realize it's okay. You can love people, but you can love them at a distance.
Distance.
And you
Yep.
have to be at peace with that. And I'll tell you, Keisha, when I really did that, I felt so much peace. I felt
Yeah.
much better. And because it was like that stress was just alleviated. So that was powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
No
So
problem.
the next question is about our just reality TV. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll get ready to close. So I've never been a reality TV person. Like, I don't want to watch it. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't want to see the drama, because we all have our own stuff going on. So my question to you, because I see a lot of people that love it, and to each his own, and they really get caught up in it. But I'm asking this question because I truly believe sometimes people, they get things confused. Like what they
Hmm.
see on TV, reality TV, they think that's what their life should be like. And so that's not the reality of most people. So my question to you is, what do you believe are some of the biggest negative impacts that reality TV or television in general has on our society, but especially for women?
Oh my gosh. This is a huge one. Oh my gosh. Reality TV has created such an unrealistic expectation of the beauty, how we look, success, and relationships. And let me just tell you, it also creates an unrealistic of how we think a pregnancy should go, because it did not prepare me for my pregnancy and everything that occurred. So I was like, the TV lied. So it's often promoting like drama and materialism and the extravagant sense of perfection that we all want just because we see it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes women feel like we aren't enough. And too many people compare themselves to real lives, real reality TV too much. The key is to recognize that entertainment isn't reality, and self worth isn't worth. I mean, self worth isn't measured by social media. It's your measurement of your own self.
Mm-hmm.
If you are happy with who you are, why let somebody else tell you any different? Why let TV tell you you should look a certain way, or your face should be shaped a certain way, or your body should be shaped a certain way? Uh, Social media and all of that puts so much preference on beauty and designer labels. It's like, okay, I can look good in just something old plain, and maybe I may make it myself, but may look just as good. So it's all about self perception. Women need to embrace their own journeys and their own flaws and define success. And this is a big one: define success in your own terms. Don't let others define it for you. We all get caught up in this, I know, especially as growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Parents want us to be this. Other people want us to be this. We think we need this degree or that degree.
Mm-hmm.
Be happy with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
and gain what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Strive in your purpose, but don't let others own the terms of your own life. You
Mm-hmm.
own the terms of your own life. You live through God and what He wants you to do, and you follow those terms.
I love it. I love it. Because I don't watch reality TV, it's easy for me not to get caught up in it. But
Mm-hmm.
I have come into contact with people who do, and it's like I can just literally hear people sometimes having those conversations about people in reality TV. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's really not real. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it may be their real drama, but that's not the reality of your life, and it's not the reality of mine.
exactly.
So, for me, I will say you kind of talked about, the people sometimes see what people have, and they get caught up in like, oh, the materialistic things,
Mm-hmm.
and I do appreciate that part of how I was raised. So it has kept me very grounded and humble. So me, like I don't care about whether you got Gucci, whatever you want to say, whatever the designer things are, because
Right, right.
I can't even sit here and spit them out because they never really mattered to me.
And I'm
Now,
too
don't get me
stingy. I
wrong,
won't spend my
like,
money.
I may have some things that are designer, but I've never got caught up in that. So it's never been a big deal. And I could care
Right.
less about it because I'm like you. If it looks good on me, then hey, I'm rocking with it. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for sharing that. Yes, just keep it in mind, reality TV is a reality TV, but that is not something that you can truly just really truly believe that what people are how they're operating is how your life should look or how you should operate in your life. So that's true.
Exactly.
So now we're going to focus on now we're in the current year 2025, and Keisha, we are living in a time in which some women are feeling trouble in
Yeah.
spirit, feeling a little bit just overwhelmed where we are in our society. So my question to you is, how do you continue to maintain that sense of just being at peace, but also being strong and really being strong? So how are you maintaining? How are you making it each day as we move forward, especially with all the changes, chaos that's been going on in
Yeah.
our country?
It's tough. I'm trying to navigate through life and through 2025 with a strong sense of purpose and resilience. I've faced challenges already, but I continue to grow spiritually, mentally, and professionally. I try to stay focused on my personal goals, making sure that I'm moving forward, even if it's just one step at a time. Like I don't try to move in anybody else's pace. Um, I'm moving at my own pace.
Mhm.
And through faith, discipline, and surrounding again myself with the right people, I'm able to stay grounded and to keep pushing forward. And that's all we all can do at this time. It's no sense of being stressed about everything that's going on because we have to live in it. I mean, unless you're going to do something about it, make a change, get up and move out of the country or whatever you may think that you want to do at this moment,
Mhm.
it's not happening right now. So in the meantime, just keep your faith, stay disciplined, and keep yourself surrounded with the right people, and
Mhm.
this too shall pass.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that because I literally, after the election, I had to take a moment to really, really talk to God and pray, Keisha. Like I literally, and I even, what helped me, I found myself, I created this video and it was like
Mm-hmm.
different aspects of my life about my accomplishments and things that represented my character traits. And Keisha,
Mm-hmm.
that video for me was so profound because it was a reminder of who I was. Because I
Yeah.
literally felt at a moment, and this is just the reality, like my thought process was, wow, this is how
Yeah.
the world still feels about Black women.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Absolutely.
the reality of where we are in 2024, where people feel as though qualified Black women aren't enough. And
Yeah.
it really did something to me because I'm like, God, we can't still be here. And then even like now, fast forward 2025, the deep and
DEI.
insurmountable
Mm-hmm.
chaotic challenges, that have occurred over the last week. And even, for me, I literally, because this is part of like, what I went to school for and what I stand
Mm-hmm.
proud of, like, I realized, Shawana, just keep being the voice. keep sharing your, the things that people need to know that are going on, the updates, but also explaining to people why it's important. And so for me, what has kept me just really here, I like you, I've really had to remind myself, trust God, trust the
Yeah,
process. People can't do any more than God allows them to. So it's
that's
like
right.
you said, just remember, trust in God. He is all powerful. He still has us. He is going to ensure that we are still covered. And really, I've just had to really just continue just every day, my words inspiration, being
Yeah,
positive, and just knowing like you like you talked about, and walking in your purpose. Like you
yes,
just continue to walk in your purpose. And to me, that's so powerful. And is really the reality that all of us should be doing. Stay focused, because we got
absolutely.
these distractions that are going on, and they're going to continue to exist even before this and even now. But as long as we stay focused, walking in our purpose, we're going to get through it.
We're
So
gonna get through it.
that. Thank you for sharing that. So you kind of just touched on what I was going to ask, like, what would you share with other women? And essentially, you talked about it. Stay focused, walk in your purpose, don't lose your faith, and you really
Mm-hmm.
we're just in a place where you really have to stay steadfast in trusting and believing that everything is going to work out for our good. So thank you for sharing that. So I
Yes.
just want to ask, any closing thing that you want to say or share with people as we get ready to close? Is there anything that I may not have asked, or something that may have popped up in your mind and you're like, I just want to add this? And if not, it's okay.
Um, I would say I want to remind everyone that your strength is your greatest circumstances, is greater than your circumstances. Just encourage everyone to keep believing in themselves, believe in the power of perseverance, no matter how difficult things get. Just never lose sight of your purpose. And if you don't know what your purpose is right now, it's okay. You still maybe figuring out or trying to figure it out. Just take care of yourself, protect your peace, and
Mm,
like we were saying earlier, uplift each other, uplift everybody around you, whether they are mean to you. You never know what they're going through. It's
mm,
okay. It just might be a bad day for them. Still
mm,
uplift that person.
mm,
We're all in this together, and together we're always going to be stronger. So we
mm,
gotta keep pressing forward and know that it's going to be okay.
mm. Thank you. Thank you. I love the fact that you said protect your peace. And
Mm-hmm.
that's so important. I don't think for me I realized the importance of that until I got older, because when you have
Yeah,
peace of mind, it's priceless. Your
yeah, it
and then
really
also
is.
when you have peace of mind, the things that could impact your happiness, you don't have to worry about that. So
Yeah.
definitely thank you for talking about peace, because peace is so priceless. So everyone, as we close, I just want to say thank you personally again, for
You're
those who are,
so welcome.
thank you so much for carving out the time, for collaborating with me. Literally, I knew that you were going to be phenomenal. You were going to be the best person for this. And without a shadow of a doubt, I proved myself right.
I was just worried I didn't get sleepy.
Look, I just want to say thank you so much for being my sister, my friend. As I shared earlier, there's nothing that I can't talk to Keisha about. And so when we talk about tonight being unapologetically authentic, this is what I love about her. This is what I love about the relationship that we have, because there's nothing that we can't talk about. And for those of
That's
you
true.
who are out there, if you feel as though like you're kind of struggling with that, I just encourage you, and I just really ask you to really, get to a place where you really kind of sit down and take self, inventory over where you are in your life, because the reality
Yeah.
is, like Keisha shared, like we all do need someone. It's nice to have someone that we can talk to and connect with. And the reality is that you don't need a big crowd. You don't need a circle of friends. Even if it's just one person that you can relate to and connect to me, that's that means more to me than anything. But then also just realizing that loving yourself, that's big. I you know
Yeah.
I shared my journey, Keisha shared her experience, and even though it's different, the reality is we still are at a place now in our lives where, for me personally, it took me a little bit longer, but I can honestly say I love being Shawana. I
Yeah.
love being Dr. Shawana Marshall, but I
Amen
also
to that.
love being Shawana. And
Yes. Yes.
I thank God for that. And I'm so grateful that Lord, I'm giving you a new name. I'm so glad that Keisha and I connected so many years ago, 40 plus years ago, and we are still
Yep.
going strong. And just know that as women, if you can just take one thing from this, just be true to who you are.
Yep.
Love who you are, walk in your own authentic self. And if you are wearing a mask,
Take it
you need
off.
to take it off. Stop
Yes.
wearing this facade. Stop wearing this. Stop being fake. Because the reality is, it's going to come out in the end anyway. People are really going to see who you are, and you will feel a weight, a burden lifted off of you when you truly realize, like, I just want to be me. I don't want
Yeah.
to be anybody else but me. And on that note, as I close out, I do want to share with you, if you want to just hear more positivity, more words of inspiration, I do have a personal Facebook group. It is private, so if you want to join, you are more than welcome. It's titled Unapologetically Empowered and Purpose. Also, I do have a YouTube channel. You are welcome to check me out there, because I love walking in my purpose, like Keisha and I've been talking about all night. You got to know your purpose. This is where I
Gotta
get
know your purpose.
my sense of empowerment, my encouragement. It makes me feel uplifted. So you can also check me out there, and also on IG at WOEAP 2020. So this has been a very, very personal and deep, profound segment for me. So my hope is that this has been encouraging for you all out there. If you tuned in and you know someone that could really benefit from this, please share. Please share,
Yes.
because like Keisha talked about, we're all in this together. Like,
Yes.
I can't operate any other way but in positivity. And so we have to truly realize the importance of encouraging and uplifting and empowering each other. Like, that's what it's all about. So on that note, I am so grateful again for my friend. I'm so grateful to those that tuned in, and even those that may watch later. I truly appreciate everything that people continue to do to support my organization. And Keisha, I love you.
Love you too.
Continue to be blessed, and thank you so much. All right, good night.
Bye, everybody. Good night.